Hello, everyone. At home with your families tonight, it's Sumanji reporting from Channel 7 News, reporting on the past, present, and future of Canada. Today, we have a special segment on the future leaders of tomorrow. We were lucky enough to get interviews from two strong female leaders within the field to help inform our younger audience on future career opportunities. We'll be starting with an interview of the phenomenal Tony Gill from Siemens Country Head of Credit and Collections. Hello, Tony Gill. Nice to see you again. I'm going to dive right into this interview and just ask you if you can explain a little bit about your individual journey to get into Siemens Country Head of Credit and Collections.
Yes, hello, Sumanji. Thank you for having me. And yeah, so initially I was studying to get my CCG, a CGA, which was always a plan, but I put that education on hold when I had my two kids. And after working at another company for 14 years that sadly closed down, I began my new job as a credit manager and began taking courses to get my CCP. I then used this to leverage my position to bring me where I am today, a team manager position at Siemens.
Wow, that is quite the journey. Can you speak a little bit more about your personal journey and how you developed yourself into these type of management roles?
Yeah, for sure. So, a little background of my personal history is that I come from India, and in my teenage years, and in the moment, it seemed like a large turning point, but also a blessing because it prepared me for a life of transition where I found out the significance of growth that comes from change. And, throughout my life, I've always stood out. I was born and raised in a generation in India where women were not seen as leaders, and having a disability was seen as a challenge. However, I used these challenges to become a fighter and became determined to not only thrive, but to also inspire my younger siblings and cousins to do the same. I'm the eldest of five, and being a leader was innate. This was seen throughout my professional journey, which started many years ago.
Wow, that is inspirational. Now, I know that you mentioned switching jobs and later taking courses to obtain your CCP. I find that very interesting because you're taking these courses at a later stage in your life compared to others. So, what motivated you to continue this journey and take these courses?
Yeah, well, you mentioned my journey revolves around motivation, and this goes back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I first wanted to focus on my family, which was important to me, but after my previous workplace shut down, I had to think about my next steps. And I knew that it was time to focus on growth and progressing my career, which you could say is the esteem stage of the hierarchy of needs. And I knew that getting my CCP would help me achieve that, and it did because it brought me where I am today.
That's amazing to hear. So, what advice would you give to someone who may be looking to take a similar career path as you or is facing a difficult journey into their career?
So I would tell them that becoming a leader is not easy. It's a process filled with challenges, reflection, and career turns. If we look at the expectancy theory, it states that motivation happens when one believes their effort will create a performance that will yield desirable outcomes. Likewise, it was important for us to realize the effort we need to reach our goals. This reflection will motivate us to overcome the challenges we will face during our career path.
Interesting. That is great advice for students coming into these positions. It'll be interesting to see how this compares to our next interview of Ken Randawa, an executive accounting management, who is coming to us live right now. How are you, Cam? Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Sumaji, for having me on Channel 7.
Hello, hello. It's always a pleasure. I would like to just dive into this interview as well and ask you if you can explain a little bit about your journey and what influences you and your leadership style.
When I reflect upon the pathway that has guided me to my current leadership role, a strong influence was my personal life and my grandfather. My grandfather was responsible for leading and supporting our family structure regarding financial, emotional, and habitual support. And he also demonstrated the importance of challenging traditional narratives and showing me a perspective that gave women more opportunity. So, by my grandfather's example, I became comfortable in my role as executive account manager and continued to break down the barriers in my way.
Thank you for sharing. Your grandfather seems like an amazing role model. I'm interested in understanding how you shape your team and what qualities you look for in future employees.
When examining my team and the type of individuals I want to be a part of my team, I look for a few main qualities. The first is strong personalities and the willingness to work with a diverse team. as well as being open-minded and acknowledging others' expertise in areas that they may lack. Most importantly, I also appreciate an individual who is driven to continue growing and seeks new opportunities. When considering these qualities, it's also crucial to understand the company's values and ensure their interests are congruent with the company looking towards future growth and progress.
Amazing. I wonder if I could be a future employee of yours. No, I'm just kidding. I love my job. But with that said, after working with all these different individuals for years, how do you maintain that friend and employee type of relationship?
You bring up an interesting question of distinguishing between employees and friends, and it is essential when working in an operational team to create those strong relationships. However, there are strong dynamics between the work and social environment. And as a leader, it's important to acknowledge the changes in these environments and set clear business policies to mitigate the challenges from these interconnecting environments.
Wow. Thank you for taking the time to share insights on your journey and leadership style. How do you think your insights are reflected in different organizational behavior principles and theories?
Yes, one theory that definitely comes to mind is looking at team states. And this is influenced in my leadership style. And team states involves looking at cohesion, potency, mental models, and transactive memory. So, for example, my team members must develop strong bonds when building their team. However, it's important to maintain those boundaries so that alternative viewpoints are expressed and groupthink does not occur. Additionally, when building my team, all my team members must bring something different, reducing the potency. It will also allow effective distribution of work across various tasks instead of allowing overlap between the work and the employees. And this also brings in transactive memory into account because when the team is composed of individuals with expertise in different areas, the team's overall knowledge becomes enhanced and able to tackle a more comprehensive set of problems. And during the hiring process, it's important to understand the values they hold and how they will contribute to the goals of the team and company, taking in that mental modal mindset. And when there is an understanding between the team members and when we're all on the same page, working towards the same goals, the team can work effectively together.
Amazing insights. Thank you so much for your knowledge and experience. We are so appreciative for your time today. I'm sure our audience at home feels the same way. Before we cross on to our expertise discussion, we actually have some breaking news. Tajinder Singh Sidhu has just released his autobiography on topics such as personal growth, hiring processes, and even diversity. One of his books, Key Lessons, has been all over Twitter. It's all about his hiring processes. It highlights difficulty of navigating between coworker relations. Similar to other leaders who have had the fortunate opportunity of interviewing today, Sidis has some great insights on his understanding of hiring processes and boundaries. He discusses the challenges in having a friend or kin as an employee or partner in business, as a relationship has been defined within a certain setting and it can make it difficult to adapt to change. Within the professional setting, he avoids nepotism and does not bring many friends in as partners, as there may be a developed bias or preconceived notions about each other's understandings, which can defeat the purpose of diversifying the team through the hiring process. Sadhu strongly emphasized the professional and personal environments and how they need to have strong barriers from the corporate world in order to prioritize business above relationships. Well known associates who have strong expertise are an exception as they understand the demand of the workplace. However, it is important to find someone who's the right fit for a team and work environment that can succeed within the current climate. Now, fit. That's an interesting topic he discusses. On the idea of fit, it's important to see and find a person that fits within a team and company within the hiring process. But what does this actually look like? Well, Sudhir talked about what fit looked like for his team in the corporate lens. He stated that you want to hire individuals who want to be part of the company and grow themselves within their roles. A prospect's individual skill set is required for analysis and for the formal component of the job interview, which is the preliminary analysis when you look at your resume and your experiences. However, character and how individuals perceive and uphold themselves is a strong contender for the type of team member they will be. In the corporate world, having charisma, ambition, and integrity will take you extremely far. Some key questions he even went through were the following: 10 years down the road, where do you want to be? Would you even see yourself in the same company within 10 years? Very interesting questions to be able to review. I hope our young audience is taking notes on these. Having a strong team is important, but to make a good team, there needs to be a strong leader. Within his biography, Sidhu discusses his leadership type. His main priority is to promote growth within a team and help team members reach and maximize their goals within the workplace environment. A strong message that he learned from his personal life is to understand that expectation in return cannot be existent. His purpose as a leader is to maximize potential and revenue in a way that helps team members excel within the corporate role. Within his role as an account manager, Sudha has been able to create a support system that benefits both clients and workers by advancing innovation. He stated the following: "It is my due diligence to set an example of hard work and commitment. I commit to excellent results and work hard to see positive change." By doing so, Sidhu hopes to motivate employees and define the demands of the workplace. Being a leader and a mentor are interchangeable. Sidhu highlighted in his book that he's fortunate enough to promote the mission of his company while promoting and motivating his team. This brings into discussion the role of expectancy theory in leadership and team behavior, an interesting perspective from Sidhu's book, actually. This theory discusses that individuals will behave a certain way over others because they are motivated to. When analyzing the expectancy theory, motivation from employees is fostered by a combination of three main factors, which involve effort resulting in performance, performance leading to outcomes, and outcomes being valued. Sidhu puts 100% into his job performance, and in doing so, he leads by example. His goal is to motivate his team to do the same by showing them what is expected of the job. He takes the opportunity to find out his team members' professional and personal goals to help promote their growth within the company. By sharing their vision and providing the space and the resources for continual growth within the company, he motivates them to perform their very best. He puts effort into his employees in order to facilitate environments where they want to put the effort back into the company. He also values outcomes and constantly looks for prospective team members that provide strong outcomes. I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited to get a copy of this new book. With its exciting information, now let's take a look back into our scheduled Channel 7 table news chat with the one and only Saji. Hello, Saji.
Hello, everyone. Before starting, I would like to thank our organizational leaders for their personal stories, influences, and the struggles they have endured while working as leaders in their respective careers. We like to turn the table to two organizational behavior professors from Harvard University, Dr. Masood and Dr. Rezan. So hello and welcome. Welcome and hello, Dr. Masood. Will you be able to tell us on how leaders can set boundaries and what does that do in an organization?
Thank you, Saji, for having me today. So the relationships between coworkers are what shapes the behavior of an entire organization. This is because those relationships act like a source of social support and influence on the work environment. As individuals work together, meet each other's expectations, and exchange more information, the relationships grow deeper and stronger.
How would you address the concerns with regards to individuals overstepping their boundaries?
One of the trickiest challenges to address with employees is when you experience an employee overstepping boundaries in the workplace. But to mitigate this, I suggest that individuals experience approach and avoidance motivation in establishing work environment boundaries. It was noted in research that individuals have general tendencies toward approach or avoidance, but that each individual's motivation can change from the situation to another situation. Researchers also saw individuals' behavior as influenced by dispositional differences, such as environmental factors and short-term goals. The theory of approach and avoidance motivation, according to which people's behavior follows the principle of pursuing pleasure and avoiding pain, helps to capture these differences.
That sounds very interesting. Never really took into consideration how avoidance motivation can aid in setting boundaries within work environments. What are some steps in which individuals can learn how to set boundaries?
Just as Jill suggested, it is important to acknowledge how personal interests often sometimes interconnect with professional settings. This would help create an environment where employees and employers understand their roles and a business policy set in place, which helps to minimize chances of damaging the strong relationships that are required in an organization. This would also help them know the difference between what is in scope and what is out of scope of their roles. It would aid in setting boundaries and establishing a standard that helps to avoid the overstepping boundaries behavior. Tyler Paris, founder of Chief of Staff, a company that aims to teach leadership skills, explained that without clear expectations, boundaries, and consequences, behaviors associated with overstepping boundaries is likely to continue. In such instances, the HR and management can be involved to mitigate some of these challenges.
Thank you, Dr. Masood, for your insights on setting boundaries in the workplace, as it's crucial in shaping the behavior of the organization. Needless to say, organizations are important in making their employees feel welcomed, but also creating a team that meets the needs of the organization. Dr. Rezin, what would you say are the most crucial components to take in consideration while building your team?
Well, as a manager, when building your team, it is a part of your responsibility to ensure that you select the right people that can work towards achieving the goals of the organization, while also exemplifying the ability to grow in a team setting. So during the hiring process, there are numerous qualities that a manager should look for outside of the resume that will determine if the potential candidate will be able to meet the job requirements, such as an individual's character and ambition, to determine if the candidate is a best fit for the organization, which is what Sidhu highlights in his interview.
Evidently, having individuals that meet the needs of the organization is important. But what are some qualities in an individual's organization to consider when hiring individuals in leadership roles?
Well, this is a really good question that many organizations are asking, which is actually what sparked a recent study conducted by the American Journal of Business Education, where the researchers wanted to determine how important a potential candidate's character was in the hiring process. So, one of the definitions that they used to describe one's character was their ability to make ethical decisions and practices, which is a character trait that Cam mentioned in his interview. And other character qualities included teamwork skills, taking initiative, and communication. And the results from the study revealed that 71% of all employers reported placing a priority on character qualities over skills when considering new hires. So other qualities that Randawa and Cam mentioned were such as whether a potential candidate is open-minded to good ideas, good communication skills, and their ability to identify knowledge gaps and seek new opportunities for growth, which are other qualities that employers look for, but are difficult to assess based solely on one's resume.
That's extremely true. When we look at real job postings, the requirement section only encompass past experience or the minimum education required to obtain a certain position. What are some ways organizations determine if a candidate encompasses a certain quality?
Well, big corporations such as Amazon and Google have come to incorporate behavioral-based interview questions into the interview process. So a behavioral interview is a technique used by many hiring managers to help evaluate a candidate's future performance. So this involves asking questions about the candidate's behavior in past situations that are similar to the ones required in the role that they're trying to fill. So an example of a behavioral-based interview question that could depict a candidate's level of initiative or willingness to fill in the gap is asking them if they've ever been in a situation where they didn't have enough information to work with when trying to complete a task and how they went about handling this. And so by asking these kinds of questions, it gives the employer more of an idea in terms of their character, aside from what the resume may present.
Thank you so much, Dr. Masood and Dr. Razin, for your very important tips on how organizations can improve their growth and work environments. As a disclaimer, there has been consent for all the interviews conducted. This concludes our news session for tonight. Stay tuned for next week to see what organizations can do to improve work culture.